couple of big stories coming up as well. I want to talk, there's on the news a story about driving and people driving down the wrong side of the motorway. I saw, and I'm just going to put this out there because people might have thought that this is something that's now happening more and more. Over the last couple of days, I was driving around various different places, southeast England. I saw two people with German number plates driving, you know, very happy to have people come here and be tourists and all that, but literally turning right on a traffic light, going into the wrong side of the road. One guy did, and just started driving down the wrong side of the road. I'm going, this is the middle of London. The other one turned into the wrong side of a sort of parking area and went to go to a drive-through coffee shop, famously named, it starts with C, ends with A, and he went the wrong way up into the drive-through.
Don't you think, though?
And I'm thinking, there's arrows and everything. I mean, we've all driven in foreign countries. How are people driving the wrong side of the road?
But don't you think the road systems are increasingly completely nonsensical as well? I mean, you have to admit that even driving around central London, you know, all these low traffic neighbourhoods where you literally, I mean, where we live, you just see people driving around for hours. So that's meant to cut pollution. I was driving around the back of King's Cross just yesterday or the day before, and suddenly the road that I normally used to use has been blocked off by a load of plant pots. I'm going, where am I supposed to go now then? And the Mayor of London has introduced a very confusing system with absolutely no mandate from anybody. I mean, you talk to cabbies and they're in despair at how they get around.
Don't get me started on that. Right.
And then, of course, you go down the wrong road and you get slapped with a massive fine.
And then you get, a massive fine for driving down your own street. Let's talk about some of the front pages this morning. The Times has got rising toll of young adults too ill to work. Young women are more likely to be off work due to sickness than because they are looking after children. I'm sorry, I'm not buying this.
No.
I'm really not.
Well, you know what, Mike? You reap what you sow. We've brought up a generation of, you know, internet-addicted, COVID, lockdown, damaged young people. Only a quarter of people...
Are they damaged, though?
They are all damaged. They are all got anxiety, got depression, got mental health. And they are not working. And 25%, only 25% of these young people who are not working, not in education, not in training, say they want to work. So 3/4 of them are happy, can't be bothered or happy to sit on benefits. And I've written for 10 years about mental health. I'm very sympathetic to people who have genuine mental health issues, of course. But we have a real problem here. We have young men and young women who are simply not starting in any kind of career at all. They're on benefits. In fact, the young women, it's an interesting stat that, you know, it's now more young women just off work ill with mental health problems than are staying at home to look after young children.
I mean, wait till they have children. You know, then they can really have worries about mental health, you know, because being a parent is quite tough, actually, as you well know. Birth rate has been falling, particularly amongst young people. Official figures released before Christmas now show economic inactivity remains at near record of 9.3 million people.
The benefits bill, what is it going to sort to? I think it's $1 billion by the end of the decade or something.
But, I mean, at the same time, we go to the shops and they're absolutely rammed full of people, right? People are buying everything up. You know, you can't buy certain things because they've been sold out for months and months and months. So a lot of these people are living reasonably well. How about this for a proposition? Maybe some of them are not working, but are working on the black economy.
I think some of them
not paying any tax.
Working on the black economy. I think some of them have just been signed off by their doctors. And you say, is it really the internet addiction thing? I think it is. I think when you have 10 years, effectively 10 years of young people who've just grown up, not interacting with other people really, many of them not attending school absences are at an all-time high, with no incentive to work, and they see other people coming to this country and just getting whatever they want. I do think we have a major kind of systemic problem here. Until you start saying to people, get off your backside. Think about what my father would have said. He would have said, get off your backside and go and find a job.
I think it's going to be more draconian than that. I think you have to say...
Well, that's what I'm trying to be draconian without swearing on air.
Well, no, I mean, not, you know, get back to work, but actually, if you don't get back to work, the benefits are going to end.
But that's what I mean.
Right?
You don't get benefits, you go and work.
According to these figures here from the Office of National Statistics, in 2019, there were 153,200 women aged 16 to 24 looking after family, double the number who were on long-term sick, which was 71,000. But last year, the numbers switched over, and now it's the other way around.
But yes, exactly. And when you talk to doctors, they are terrified. They have to sign people off. If you go to them and say, I have this mental health is. We've brought up a generation of young people who think that, you know, feeling down is a mental health issue. It's not. We all have bad days. We all have good days. Then we've brought them up telling them that things like anxiety disorders are a thing. No, everybody gets nervous. Everybody gets worried. You know, of course there are serious.
The whole point of socialisation is that you conquer that and you might not feel like talking to anybody, but you go to work and you start talking to people.
You go to a job interview, you turn up. I mean, young people don't turn up to job interviews because they say, why can't I do it online?
amazing. Absolutely incredible. Louise Murphy from the Resolution Foundation, the think tank, says it's probably good news that fewer people are out of work to care for family, allowing more women to work. They don't get it, do they? There is this worrying trend of more young people not being in education or work because of ill health. This is the trouble with all these think tanks. Yes. They always go, the problem is society is creating people who are sick. No, it isn't. No. Society is exactly the same as it was. Yeah. People are just pretending that they're now sicker than they ever were. They're pretending, but also we're pathologising normal human experience. And the fact is, I think the birth rate thing is a bit of a... It's a bit of a kind of red herring because women are having babies a lot later. So you are going to have young people in their early 20s who aren't staying out to look after kids because they're having their kids when they're 30. But also people are not getting married and having children because no one is meeting it. I mean, we have really... There's plenty of people having kids. It's just there are certain groups of people not having kids. I mean, middle-class women are not having kids, right? Well, but they're having them older. But also younger people are not meeting each other because they're terrified. If they try and kiss a girl in a bar, they'll be arrested for quite right too. Assault. So there's a lot of issues there. There's also women who I've heard talking, saying we don't want to have any children because of the climate crisis. I know. You know, we don't want to bring any children into the world because it won't be safe for them. All this nonsense. I mean, for God's sake. No, really? That's just complete. I mean, funnily enough, there's a climate story today in the Telegraph, which I've got here somewhere, which is complete and utter load of old cobblers, right? Climate change threatens to devastate the value of hundreds of thousands of homeowners' properties, according to the Bank of England, right? They say 300,000 homes, 1% of UK properties, risk having a fifth of the value wiped out because of dire climate scenarios. I just thought this was utter nonsense. What rubbish. Absolute nonsense. All floodplains. There's a reason that houses are getting flooded more, and it's nothing to do with the rain. It's everything to do with the drainage and everything to do with buildings being put on floodplains. That's what it's got to do with. Yeah, but we've always had houses that are at risk and a real pain to sell on floodplains, and we've always had bad weather. Yeah, but now we have more, though. Yeah, we do. We do. But this nonsense about climate change, I mean, there's been so many graphs and pie charts over the past few weeks showing that we've had temperatures like this going up and down for centuries now. I know. And I mean, the idea that the Bank of England is suddenly getting involved in climate change policy, I find absolutely and utterly staggering. Meanwhile, in the Daily Mail, they've got a great story. They say council staff have been allowed to work from the beach more than 2,000 times since the pandemic. So basically, people are working from beaches in Ibiza and even as far away as Australia because they don't have to go into work. Mike. I'm thinking about Michelle Keegan. I'm so sorry. OK. Why did you call me Michelle, then, if you're thinking about Michelle Keegan? Michelle, because you don't look like Michelle. OK. Can the mollycoddling of council staff and civil servants just stop? Can this just absolutely stop? We've got higher council tax, and then we've got council staff working from the beach, working from Bali, working from, as you say, Australia. Yeah. How on earth, when they're in a different time zone, is it any wonder that we're not getting answers to our phone calls that they don't answer emails? Why should they care about local issues when they're on a beach? This is absolutely ridiculous. When did people stop understanding the difference between holiday, you go away, sit on a beach somewhere nice, and work? Well, it was when you sit in an office and do your work. It was when they were given permission to go home and never come into the office again. That's where it started, and this was bound to happen. And the next thing that will happen is that people who are now employed overseas will be replaced by people from overseas on a lot less money. And what Angela Rayner and her ilk are doing is basically saying it's fine. You can have full-time pay for part-time work. You can do exactly what you want. We'll bring in sort of French union-style laws. And the economy is being wrecked by all this stuff. Well, this is what the Labour government now want to do. We'll get on to them in a minute. But they want to have more rights for workers, don't they? So that you can actually turn up for work even less than you do now. Yes. It's incredible. And still get paid for it. Yeah. Still get paid full-time pay for part-time work. Yeah, absolutely incredible. How are employers meant to cope with this? Yeah. How are they meant to cope with this? How are they meant to get their staff back in the offices? And how are they meant to cope with rises in national insurance, all of that stuff, all of the... Oh, well, don't worry, if you're in the public, if you're in the public sector, you get all that covered. Town hall bosses approved at least 731 staff requests to work from abroad, with one council worker logging in from Ibiza for 4 years. Hello? Sorry, what? Can't hear you. Another pina colada, please. Can't hear you. You know, there's a big disco going on in the background. Exactly.